All right, we are broadcasting live for episode 88 of the On the Hunt podcast. Joining me right now is the number one Lions fan, Mr. Bobby Bless.
What's
We,
up, guys?
we also have got our resident defensive coordinator, Nate Rucker, with us this evening.
What up, Dale?
And of course, I'm Elijah Winfrey. And what I'm going to do right now is what I do on every show is I'm going to ask these guys to buy me some time while I share our link everywhere that I possibly can. So let's check in with the number one Lions fan, Mr. Bobby Bless. Bobby, how's it going, man?
Oh, I'm on top of the world. Hey, Nate, you see the new draft hat?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I brought them today. I brought one today. I don't know how long it's gonna take to get here. It says I was cheap. I took the free shipping. So 7 to 10 business days.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. Sometimes
It
it's
looked
okay.
different. It looked like a sailor hat. Like it got like I don't know. I wouldn't say sailor hat, but it looked like I own a yacht though, because it got the little like ropes things on there. Like let me show. Can I put it in the chat?
Okay. Listen, everybody know. Listen, when it comes to the merch and everything, everybody's got. I think they really be trying to figure out what Bobby got in store and what they need to go look for. So,
Man, I don't. I'm at the point where I'm not even looking no more because there's so many these damn new Lions fans. They flooding the market, bro.
hey, listen. I
It
mean,
is. But I will say this, even even though they flooded, I was mad about how they was these new Lions fans is hard to get stuff. But since we got more people buying the Lions stuff, they starting to make more too. So like
true.
it used to be like when the new hats come out and stuff, they only have so many for certain teams, and they might not even have none for the Lions, or they might not have none for like Jacksonville, the smaller teams that people ain't a fan of. But now they starting when new hats are launched, they're starting to add the Lions hats in there. I wouldn't say like the draft hats and like the salute for service stuff. Every team get that, but it's just like other kind of hats, like the off-colored ones that ain't the team colors and stuff. We're getting a lot more new of those kind of hats, and they be released by New Era. See, I done did some homework since I last did these hats, Elijah. Nah, I think about it. New Era is the ones that release the hats, and then they distribute them amongst like Lids and
Yeah.
Rally House, and so there are certain hats that you can only get on NewEra.com. So say if I go to Lids and I'm looking for a hat in particular and I can't find it, it might be on NewEra.com only sold by them. You only can buy it through them, kind of thing. And that's the same. So a lot of times when I'm be like looking like, for instance, it's a draft hat that I don't know if it's, and that's the whole thing. I don't know which, because they released the draft hats and it's three different kinds, but you don't know actually which one is the on stage hat until a few weeks or up to a week before the draft. So I brought my draft hat just by the one I thought was the sweetest, not the one that's going to be the official on stage hat. So hopefully the one I picked do be, but the hats they're getting sweeter too, man. I ain't gonna have no money. All the money gonna be gone in a minute because there's a couple of hats. I was like, dang, I didn't know we had this, and I know we had that. I might have to unretire. I ain't retired. I'm like, oh, relapse. That's the good word. I might have to relapse back on these hats, man, because it's getting
Hey,
nice. Yeah, but that's me. That's me shooting the breeze. That's one thing I talk about them hats all day.
you
So
know it.
right now I'm sharing my screen, Bobby,
I didn't get that one.
so that everybody can see the hat you're referring to. So this is the one that you got.
No, I got a dark blue one.
You got
I
a
mean,
dark.
a light blue. It was light blue. Not the
So
no. It was this. There was the hat to the far left, but it was blue like the jersey, like the home jersey stuff.
okay, so it's this one. It's like this one then.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me. I'm gonna put it in the chat for you. Can probably post it, Elijah.
But yeah, so apparently this is the hat that is the on stage.
Well, I ain't get that one. Then that ain't the sweetest one. That's whack.
At least that's what it says anyway.
Yeah, I don't know which one is the on stage. Where is Messenger?
So I do want to get us going here tonight, because we do have not a ton to talk about really. And I certainly know that we want to make sure that we get everybody out on time tonight. So let's go ahead and get one of the big subjects out of the way, and that would be as we check in with Nate Rucker.
Yeah, I sent it in the chat too.
Okay. But that would be the subject of Hendon Hooker. He has been kind of a subject that we've talked about on and off for the last couple years. Everybody knows that he was one of the prospects, along with Jahmyr Gibbs, that I really wanted to have on our roster, and was lucky enough that he was picked by the Lions. But now the Lions have brought in another quarterback in Kyle Allen, who has played around the league. He's been kind of a backup, everywhere he's went. And now Brad Holmes is saying basically if Hendon Hooker wants to be quarterback number 2, he's got to go out there and beat Kyle Allen. Uh, and here's the thing that I want to throw towards Nate, okay? Why does it seem like the Lions were so in love and willing to fight people if anybody showed any sort of disrespect to the meanest handoff in the league, Nate Sudfeld? I mean, this guy, they love this guy. But yet when it comes to Hendon Hooker, it's like, no, we got to make sure that he's got to earn every single thing. Because you can't tell me that Sudfeld earned it, because even when he played, he looked like utter garbage. And when Hendon has played, he's actually looked pretty good when he's been out there, like he knows what he's doing. So my question is kind of, do you think that's just Brad knowing what buttons to press to motivate a Hendon Hooker type athlete? Because I know sometimes there's different ways to coach different athletes. Or do you really think they don't think he's got it? What do you think, Nate?
Truthfully, whatever happens is up to Hendon Hooker. That's what it boils down to. Like, we're not in the practices. We're not in the meetings. We don't know if he picked up the playbook, if he understood the terminology. But you also have to look at the fact that they're 2 years apart. Yeah, just go and go to that door, go down to the exercise. And so you have to make sure that he has a winnable fight. You see what I'm saying? They didn't give him a matchup or that he can't win or that he shouldn't win. This should be something like, hey, we're giving you a guy, it's almost like a tune-up fight. You should go out how Appalachian State used to be. We're giving you something that is winnable. Now, if you don't win, that's on you. Mute me for a second, John.
All right, so let's mute Nate for a second. Bobby, let me toss it over to you here, man. Like I said, my question is kind of, is it more of a motivational thing because he knows what buttons to press for Hendon to get the most out of him, or do you think he just don't have it?
I don't know, brother. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's weird for me because usually, you know how I am. I just jump on the side and have y'all, either I'm going to stand my ground or have y'all pull me back. I'm like stuck in the middle on this, Because this and the main part that throws me off, Elijah, believe it or not, is the fact that they brung in Teddy Bridgewater and he didn't play all year and he took his spot. You know what I mean? He didn't play. Apparently, he was coaching. So I'm kind of like, I think because I like Hendon Hooker. I don't think he really had a chance yet. But you the backup quarterback, so your chances ain't the game. It's practice, right? So, because I ain't really seen him yet, But it is bad business for a guy that wasn't even practicing all year coaching football come and take your job in the playoffs. Not saying that like if Hendon Hooker got in, we it's a doomsday scenario regardless, right? So it's just like even in the case of an emergency, we do not want you, and that's uh, I think the biggest thing that clipped his wing the most is the fact that they pulled Teddy Bridgewater from coaching high school kids to come take his spot. That that's a other than, I'm rooting for the kid, but if I gotta put my money on it, I'm betting on it. I don't think he can hack it. But I don't know about this one. I don't know about the other bum, the other dude, because he sound like a bum to me.
Yeah.
So it's a lateral move regardless, but I don't know.
But do you
I
agree
just,
with me though that Nate Sudfeld, like they just loved on Nate Sudfeld, no matter what. Like they were ready to drop gloves anytime anybody said anything about Nate Sudfeld. That was their guy. And it feels like Hendon Hooker, for whatever reason, does not have that same respect, even though on the field, Hendon Hooker did a lot better and beat out Sudfeld.
man, Suffield was the sorriest quarterback since Dan Orlovsky for the Lions, dude. I can't think of nobody that fucking sorry but him.
That dude was good to fuck.
Man, so yeah, I don't know, but whatever he doing, Hendon ain't doing it. He better ask him. Better ask how he got it. Cause to be honest with you, man, by the starter looked like a bad pick, but
I'm not gonna say that. I just think
that's
just
why I
because
said. But I don't know.
I just think like he really has a unfair hand because I don't know if the Lions were. I don't think they thought that Jared Goff would be as good as he has become.
Right. I agree with
Because
that.
one is 27 and one is 29. You see that there's a 2 year difference. And unless he goes out and beats out Hendon Hooker, I mean, he beats out Jared Goff, or Jared Goff has an injury that completely derails him, a la Drew Bledsoe and Tom Brady, I don't think it's going to happen. And this isn't the organization of old. Um, and I really think, hey, if they don't see it, then it'll be a disservice to keep him.
Yeah.
Give him a chance to go to another, and especially while he still has value around the league because everybody's seeing him sitting there. Like he's got the mobility, the strong arm, this and that. But like he was saying, before we had these talks, is that it's it's up to him. You only are allotted so many reps as a backup quarterback.
Right.
And the fact that the first time Jared Goff gets hurt, Teddy Bridgewater is straight off the street, right out the security booth, came from winning a high school title. This is the first dude that comes in the game. And then, ironically, his first pass is a short screen to Jamo, which he goes 70 yards with.
It was a reverse. That was a reverse.
Yeah.
But they gave him the passing yard. It was more like a toss.
Okay, I give you that.
But even if we say not a pass, if you say the first time he touched the ball,
Right. I guess my thing, fellas, and we did talk about this before, and that's kind of why I'm like, I don't want to waste a bunch of breath on the same thing I said previously, but when I look at that Teddy Bridgewater situation, I look at it a little differently. I look at it like, okay, you have an opportunity. You know you're the number one seed in the playoffs. You know that everybody's going to bring their best, and you have the opportunity to bring somebody in who's not out of shape. Teddy stayed in shape, He's not that far removed. He knows your playbook. You love Teddy Bridgewater, and if Teddy Bridgewater was 27 years old, he'd be the backup because you have a long history with Teddy. And so for me, I look at it and I go, you have an opportunity to take your playoff quarterback, Jared Goff, and back him up with another guy who has won in the playoffs with Teddy Bridgewater, or you can go with the young buck who's never seen those type of lights before.
But But my only thing with that, I would agree with that, Elijah. But here's the thing: they made sure they said number 2 backup to Goff. They could have just said we bringing in Teddy Bridgewater. We're allowed to keep 3 quarterbacks.
Right. They gave.
Yeah. I think they really wanted to make sure that this dude is in front of Hooker. Am I right?
I mean, so I agree with that. I agree with that. But like I said, the part of my argument is if you look at the whole rest of the season, outside of that playoff game, Hendon was number 2.
Yeah.
And anytime we were up by 40 on people, Hendon was the one that went in the game. And they could have went out and they got Jake Fromm, I think, like at the beginning of the season. He was number 3, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think it was a lack of faith in him in regular season games. I think it was just hey, if we get in the playoffs, wouldn't it be nice to have a playoff-ready quarterback instead of having a young buck who has never had that thrust upon him? And again, maybe that's just me making excuses for a player I like. So I understand that as well. And I do agree with Nate's point. Whatever happens, it will be up to Hendon Hooker, as far as that. So I'm not saying anything different than what Nate's saying as far as that's concerned. I
want to play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, how many teams we got in the NFL?
Oh man, I don't know.
30.
32 times 53.
So you have 32 NFL teams.
Yeah.
15 of which have a African American quarterback starting.
Okay.
Now, how many number 2 African American backups is in the NFL?
A lot.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. Because usually when I see a backup quarterback, they're usually white and got long hair, and they literally look like a statue. Because like
a lot of them backup.
Let's say this: notable African American quarterbacks that are backup. You can
Jameis.
Great. So Jameis.
Yeah. Gino
ain't no backup though.
Gino was a backup though.
Where?
Not in Seattle. Are you kidding me?
Not in Seattle.
He was a backup. And
he beat that. He grew from that. He passed that though.
He momentarily against us, he looked like Joe Montana. Against everybody else, he was.
I didn't vote him comeback player of the year. I'm just saying it wasn't just me. It was other people that felt that way, Elijah.
Anyway, Nate, go ahead.
So you got Jameis.
Yeah.
You got Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And you have Teddy Bridgewater or Hendon Hooker.
Hey, don't sleep on your boy Malik.
Well, yes, my bad, and Malik Willis. So, but this is why I said no. So you throw in those guys. Now, how many of those guys actually have in-game experience?
Teddy and James.
Everybody except Hendon.
Yeah.
Even with Malik Willis, remember Malik Willis was a starter with Tennessee. We know about Justin Fields. We know about Jameis. Then you still have Hendon. So you have you can say, but even with everybody else's game experience, Hendon is still older than 2 of these guys. So it's one of them like, okay, you're 27. You've been in the organization now. For one moment, you couldn't beat out the guy with the meanest handoff, or they were just letting him be the meanest guy with handoff. We don't know. But we know we've seen this dude Sudfeld throw ducks.
Right.
This dude was throwing air balls with a football. The Buffalo game, he threw the worst pass I've ever seen. We all remember that pass.
Yeah.
From an NFL quarterback, I seen the kid on the 8 and under Pee-wee team throw a better pass than that.
Right.
So, again, it's just the emphasis on what is the holdup with Hendon. Is it the self-proclaimed, we talk about the African American quarterback or whatever? Or is it just, hey, dude, you're not doing enough to take the reins away, where we have to keep bringing in guys to push you or to put in front of you because you are not showing us enough yet for us to say this is truly our guy.
Mm.
If we say Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre, we know that. And they knew this was their guy. There was no question who the backup was. He was an unquestionable backup when Brett Favre came out the game.
So I have to jump in here because my father, obviously y'all know my father is a Packers fan. And
Mhm.
I do remember the first couple years that Aaron Rodgers was behind Brett Favre, they didn't know he was their guy. Yes, they picked him in the first round, but they
Mhm.
were kind of like Hendon. I'm not saying Hendon is Aaron Rodgers, but kind of like Hendon, they were like, well, let's bring in some other guys in. Let's bring in some other competition. Let's see what he's going to do against these guys here. And
Right.
it wasn't exactly Aaron's job. He had to win it every single year, kind of like what they're doing with Hendon. So that kind of
Right.
goes back to your point earlier, Nate. Like maybe they are trying to test the waters and say, we want you to be the guy.
Right. We're going to give you a favorable matchup. If you
Yeah,
can't beat this guy out convincingly,
right.
then we may just have to take our losses and say, you know what, this was out of all our draft picks, this was the one miss we got.
Yeah. And like I said, when I read, when you guys sent it to me, because Nate sent it to me first in the chat, and then Bobby sent it to me in the chat, because they wanted to make sure I saw it, which I appreciate. But like when I was reading the statement from Brad Holmes, it's just like, dude, like that's really out of pocket for you because you don't
Exactly. Exactly. I feel like if you add that into it, I feel like he don't really believe in him.
But like I said though earlier, and anybody who's ever coached anybody knows this, I don't want to say different strokes for different folks, but like people learn and are motivated in different ways.
True shit. True
And
shit.
so I'm
But I
wondering,
have since Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell been here, they ain't came at one player like they came at Hendon Hooker. Not one player.
they did come at Jared Goff though. If you remember that first year, Dan Campbell went up there in front of reporters and said, "We need more
Oh
from
yeah, yeah, I
Jared
do
Goff."
remember that. I do
So, but
remember
like
that.
I said, I'm just
Yeah,
wondering, Hendon is somebody who was at
I
Virginia
do
Tech.
remember that.
He was at Virginia Tech, then he went to Tennessee. He's been through it. So I just wonder if maybe him being that underdog, them putting him in that underdog mindset, like you got to prove it. If him having to constantly prove it is a trigger, like is that something that makes him better when he's got competition like that? If so, then let's be honest, the two guys that would know that would be Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. And if they know that's how we get the best out of this particular player, then they're not going to love up on him. Like I think about with JMO, initially with JMO, Dan Campbell was kind of challenging the kid. He's like, look, he's got to get it together. But he also would, at the same time, have a loving touch to it at the end, saying he's
He
got.
said he trusted. He
But
said he trusts Jameson Williams, and I think after he said that, a lot of that shit died down.
But
I
you get
really
what I'm
do.
saying, though. At first, it was like, we need more, but we trust that he'll get there. And with Hendon, it's like, no, you're the underdog. We need you to prove it. And like I said, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it because I like Hendon Hooker and I want him to have a very good NFL career. And yes, honestly, I'd love to see him be the Lions quarterback because again, I like Goff. I appreciate everything Goff has done, and I don't think Goff is over with in Detroit. I think we're going to be fine. But
Yeah, I think we could.
I just see so many more possibilities with our offense with a mobile quarterback, which is something we've never really had in Detroit for a long period of time. And also the arm strength. I mean, Hendon can he can hit every throw. But at the same time, and I will throw this out there before I toss it back to Nate and Bobby on this. The thing that pisses me off is that you will have people that say You got to earn reps with the first team in preseason. And while I agree with that to a certain extent, when you got Hendon Hooker out there playing with guys that are going to be plumbers and electricians by week 1, that is not fair. That is not a fair evaluation of what Hendon Hooker can do. Just like how if Hendon Hooker goes out there against a third string defense and lights it up for 300 yards, I'm not going to be up here being like, see?
But it's what he doing in practice, though, Elijah.
I know.
I'm telling you, it ain't really the games, it's practice.
Well, I understand the earn it part, but I'm just like, you got to get him some first team reps this upcoming preseason.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. We'll know for certain this upcoming preseason because we know the Lions don't even play the starters as far as quarterbacks. Jared Goff don't even see the field.
Right.
So we're going to get a chance to see Hendon with the starting offensive line, second string offensive line. We're going to get to see him start the game, go deep, make sure that he's able to sustain the drives and keep the fluency of the offense. So we're definitely going to get a chance to see it.
Right.
So we will know for sure what he has and what he doesn't have. As I say, we can all have the expectations of him, and it's like a new toy. You want to see him get out. You want to see him get out there. One of my homeboys, he's been on the show a couple of times, Donez, guy, one of my friends played at Western Michigan. His thing is, he says, like you say, that they've given everybody else a chance at backup, but why hasn't Hendon gotten the same love? And so it coincides with what you were saying.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there is people that's thinking the same way that you are, and he's saying that that he doesn't think he's getting a fair shake.
Right.
But I also have to, we have to look at it like this way. You have to look at the age factor. Hendon wasn't drafted as a 21, 22-year-old out of college.
Right.
He was 25 when he was drafted. He's 27 now. Our starter is 29 years old. Like, realistically, if he doesn't beat him out in the next 2 years, or Jared Goff has this astronomical drop-off or some catastrophic injury, he's not going to the Lions jersey.
He ain't getting no clock.
And here's the other thing. Like, I want to rewind the clocks a little bit here before we end this topic about Hendon Hooker, because the whole show is not going to be about Hendon. But but like, this was a big topic. This was a big thing.
It definitely was. It definitely.
But
I'm surprised at the words they used on the youngster, to be honest.
No, I agree. But let me take the clocks back there, back for a second, though, because I want people to understand something Nate said earlier. And Nate, if I got you wrong, tell me.
Mm-hmm.
When Hendon Hooker was drafted, people got to remember, he was drafted in the 3rd round. He was injured.
Mm-hmm.
He was coming off an ACL injury. Yes,
he was 4th round. He was 4th round, Elijah.
4th round. Okay, my bad. 4th round. But he was coming off an ACL injury. Prior to that ACL injury at Tennessee, he was a Heisman frontrunner. If you look at the Lions at the time, we had yet to be to the playoffs with Jared Goff.
Correct.
We hadn't gotten there yet. We were coming off that year where we went 9-8 and beat the Packers, at Lambeau, and kept them from going to the playoffs. So at that moment in time, if you're the general manager of the Lions, you're looking at Jared Goff and you're saying, okay, so we got to 9-8. But if that is the ceiling that we have with Jared, then we probably should draft a quarterback now that can be ready to beat him out 2 years down the road if he doesn't work out and we don't want to give him a big old bag of money. I don't think Brad Holmes, for as much as he loves Jared Goff, or Dan Campbell, for as much as he loves Jared Goff, I do not think they saw us going to a point where we were 30 minutes from a Super Bowl in that season, and then turn around the next year, win the division again, and be the number 1 seed in the playoffs. I don't think they saw that coming. That was a beautiful scenario. But imagine if they hadn't prepared for that scenario and they didn't draft Hendon and Jared Goff did play like crap. Now it would be 2 years, it would be 2 years later. And if Jared Goff had, for lack of a better term, shit the bed, now Lions fans would be pissed off saying, we could have drafted somebody. We could have had somebody ready. Again, for Brad Holmes, he made the right decision. I don't think, even if Hendon don't play for the Lions, I don't think it was a bad pick, because I think he got really good value for where he got Hendon and how he got Hendon. But I do think, like Nate said earlier, there was no way for them to predict that we would be as good as we are right now. And right now, you don't have a reason to play Hendon. You really don't. Like, okay, so we want to get you some reps, but that would mean taking reps away from Jared Goff, who we just gave a big old bag of money to. So we're not going to do that. So, but like I said, this year right here, this third season for Hendon Hooker, this is it, man. Like, this is your opportunity to go out there, which, by the way, I follow Hendon Hooker on social media, and every single video this guy's been posting has been him in the freaking weight room working on stuff. Like, he is everything you would want, as far as being committed to the task. So I'm rooting for him hard. I really hope he gets an opportunity to play with people who are not going to be plumbers and electricians by the time the season starts, as Bobby would say, and Bobby's right about that.
Them damn plumbers, they played on defense last year, though.
But we'll see what happens.
I get in the weight room. There's also a young quarterback that does that, and he played for Michigan. And his name was Alex Orji.
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, a physical specimen.
Right.
Of an athlete, of a young man in the weight room. The only thing you see is videos of him on the field throwing this, throwing that, and in the middle of the game, dude can't complete a pass.
Right.
And it was so bad that we had to bring in Jake Tuttle, who now has retired, and I think he's doing something with the team. He shouldn't even been under center.
Right.
But, and that's what I'm saying. So yeah, you can post all the videos, being in the weight room, throwing all these passes and all this, but if the product does not match, there's nothing you can do. Like we said, hard work beats talent only when talent don't work hard.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so one thing I did, and we were talking, this is another side topic. It was me and some other guys. We were talking about smartest quarterbacks, so to speak. And so what I did was I took away quarterbacks that lacked mobility, because quarterbacks that lack mobility and lack person have to be smart.
Yeah, ain't no other way. Ain't no other way.
You have to be able to process information. And guys that have that mobility, a lot of times, don't process too fast. They don't process quick. They're quick to rely on their legs and everything else.
Yeah.
Now, not saying that Hendon does it. It could be a hiccup with him. But like I said, we don't know because haven't seen him on the field. But that could be a holdup as well. Like, maybe he doesn't process as fast as we think he does.
And to piggyback on that, as much as I hate to piggyback on that,
I'm with it.
It's not Nate saying it. Okay, I want to be very clear. I'm not. This ain't about Nate. Okay, I always hate when you see that thing on a draft analysis of a quarterback where they're like, he can't read a defense. And then my defense of that player is, was he asked to? Because if he wasn't asked to, then that doesn't mean he can't do it. It means he was doing what his coaches told him to do.
Right. He was in an unfamiliar situation.
And Kurt Warner pointed out about Hendon Hooker and that Tennessee offense that even though they went 4 wide, 2 by 2, right?
They only had one read.
2 of those players on every single play did not have an actual route.
Yeah, actually, yeah. So he had one read and one hot route. That's all he had.
And Kurt Warner was like, that was the big red flag for Kurt Warner about Hendon Hooker was, can he read a defense? Because at Tennessee, he was not asked to, and yet he had a lot of success. But again, I always hate questioning whether a quarterback can do something if they simply were not asked to.
Now, he did get his wide receiver drafted. Was it Hilton?
It was oh man.
Hyatt.
You were going through all the hotels. You almost had it.
Hyatt is the Hyatt. The Hyatt.
He
had that guy Jalen O'Connell Lodge. Yeah, Jalen Lodge. Anyway.
He with that one read and one hot route, he did get him drafted. Yeah. He was able to showcase his arm strength. He was able to showcase his ball placement on the deep ball. No Diddy, but it worked. It worked out perfectly for him. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of us were clamoring for this. We want to see J-Mo and Hendon because we know how far Hendon can let this ball rip. Now, granted, we've seen Jared Goff overthrow J-Mo. He might have threw his back out trying to do it. But, we've seen him overthrow. We've seen him underthrow him far more than anything. But, he has done it. But arm strength, we know Hendon definitely got the stronger arm, effortlessly throws the deep ball. Yeah. And so, we all want to see that.
Well, and it's like, okay, so you got J-Mo. J-Mo's a perfect example. You got J-Mo. J-Mo's got world-class speed. How many times have we seen J-Mo catch a pass from Hendon? I don't think we have. Just like the whole thing, whenever I was doing the draft analysis, I was like, fellas, can you even imagine what would happen with Hendon Hooker and Jahmyr Gibbs being side by side, running a read option? And how many times have we got to see that? None. Because when it's the preseason and it's the opportunity for Hendon to get to play,
but I don't think
and Ben Johnson had all them trick plays. Ain't none of them from Hendon Hooker. He ain't got nothing for him too.
But that's what I'm saying though. Like,
I agree with you with that.
I thought there was a package for Hendon when he was healthy. And again, during the preseason, when it's his time to shine, instead of letting him play with these guys so you can see what happens, you sit all of those guys and say, Hendon, go out there with, the team from Jiffy Lube and let's see what you can do. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, come on, man. Like, give him some tools and see what the kid can do. But at the same time, the counter argument would be, so you put one of our starters out there to see what Hendon can do, and then they end up getting hurt. Was it worth it? You know what I mean? So, like, I get it from, like, all angles. But Hendon Hooker, like I said, bottom line, this is it, man. This is his opportunity. So, we'll see. We'll see what develops there. The other thing that was a big deal was Kaminsky retiring. And, Bobby was talking about it off the air here. He was like, he was always injured. And like, as I was thinking about it, like my mental image of Kaminsky as a Lion, I can't think of one photo of that man where he did not have either a full-on arm wrap because of an injury or something else. Like he was always injured. And Bobby, I know that he did a good job. I know that he did a good job, but Bobby, I want your opinion and then toss it to Nate.
Hey, NFL average years in the NFL about 3 years. Anything past that, you was blessed. So I ain't surprised at all. It ain't like a major foundation piece or something. Now, you tell me Frank Ragnow gone, then I might, you know what I mean, be like, what the fuck? But even with him, he going through a lot too. That's the part of it. But it's interesting to see. I didn't think. What was that one guy? O'Connor. Isn't that the guy that would replace Kaminsky? Huh? Yeah, he did. I think he did better than Kaminsky a little bit. So it's gonna be
Uh,
interesting to
on the
see how he step up.
on
But
the
yeah, good job, Kaminsky. Good career, man. You did good. You don't got nothing to do but hold your head up high, man, because you played
yeah,
good football for the time
I'm
you
not,
was in there for sure.
we can't. I'm not going to downplay the importance of Kaminsky, how he was with Aiden Hutchinson being able to go one on one, because Kaminsky did a hell of a job. And one thing we talked about was like, damn, his Aiden Hutchinson sack total would go up when he was side by side with Kaminsky.
And yeah, that's true.
Inside burst threw up enough, confusion to where Aiden, especially when they ran that stunt, and
Yeah, I
Aiden,
remember he was hurt and came back and Aiden caught back fire. I do remember that.
yeah,
That was like 2 years ago.
yeah. So his presence, and he's I would say he's more like his motivational value to that D line was impactful. It's like I said, especially the Aiden. So, good job, Big John. Thank you for your service. And ride off into the sunset unbroken.
Yes, sir.
All right. So with that news, and with the release of Zadarius Smith, although I did see recently that Lions are keeping in touch with Zadarius Smith, they just could not. Reportedly, they could not afford the contract the way that it currently was going to be. But with Zadarius gone, with Kaminsky gone, and with us not necessarily knowing what we're going to have with Aiden post leg injury, I think he's going to be fine on a personal level, but there always is a little bit of a question. I mean, this pick has got to be a defensive end, right, Nate?
Yeah. It has to be in my eyes. And like I said, we did Shamar Stewart. Mike Green was my next guy, but the way he showed out at the Senior Bowl, dude is long. He's electric. 17 and a half sacks at Marshall. Those are numbers that you can't make up. So with that being said, go in, go to the right, go down to the extra sign. It should be. Now, the defensive end in this edge is very deep. It's the deepest position in this draft. And you're potentially looking at 6 to go in the first round.
Yeah.
Now the other guy I looked at, and he may kill me for trying to pronounce this dude's name.
the guy from Boston College, right?
Yeah, hold on. I gotta look at this guy's name again. I'm gonna give it the best I got.
Okay.
I'm about to give this the best I got. Hold on.
If you don't get it right, they're gonna cancel us.
Oh shit. Started here. Oh, so I had broken down. Okay. His first name is Donovan, which is very easy. Now, the last part I want to say is Easy Ryaku.
I mean, that's from my pronunciation, that sounds right.
Yeah.
You asshole.
Ryaku. That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah.
We're at 6'2", 200, like 250 poundish. We're at a 4.6 40. Like I say, he's a very good guy. Like, he has a very high motor. He's got a lot of different hand moves when rushing the quarterback. I've watched him a couple of times. Like I said, his initial burst is good. Like getting around the corner. He's got a rip move. He started last year implementing a little bit of a spin move. He's got a hump move. So pretty much his karate with his hands is okay.
Yeah.
Now, what he struggled with is the big tackles that are good at karate as well.
Okay.
So when these big guys, a lot of times when the big guys got their hands on them, they were able to wash them up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, that's not saying that it's something that he won't grow into, and with better coaching, that he doesn't benefit from.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think at that spot, man, it's pretty reasonable. I would love to get Shamar Stewart right there, but I still think Shamar Stewart is going to go top 15. I still think he's rated pretty high.
Don't you do that, Nate. Don't you put that out there, Nate. That is our guy. We finally agree on a
Hey,
prospect.
you know Brad Holmes will go get him if he want him bad for sure.
Man, I hope he does.
He'll go get him if he want him on the team. He'll go get him.
Okay, so this what we'll do. Okay, let's look at the top ends, which is considered rush end, 3-4 rush, and 4-3 DNs, right? You can say Abdul Carter is going to be number one.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you got the dude from Ohio State, Tutu something. I ain't even going to try. It's a lot of Samoans.
When your name's got sound effects in it, that's when Nate's like, I'm out. I'm out.
Right. Pew, pew, and everybody going to
Michael Swinging Door Simpson. What the?
So we've got him. You've got the two boys out of Georgia.
Yeah.
So you've got Michael Williams, and then the other guy. You have Mike Green. So the list for these defensive ends, man, I wrote them down. Okay, so it's Jacob Walker, Michael Williams, Abdul Carter, James Pierce.
Okay.
So you've got, and then Shamar Stewart. So that gives you 6. Mike Green, to me, is my favorable pick because he reminds me of a guy that Bobby loved and Brian Burns. When Brian Burns first came out, he was on the smaller side.
Yeah.
And Hunter, he's a beast of a defensive end. He's a beast of a defensive end. Now, if we can get Shamar or Mike Green, I'll be happy. I won't question it. Everybody else, you will have to look at a highlight and try to be like, all right. Because, everybody's got the ups and downs. They got the strength and weaknesses.
Yeah.
But the two most unquestionable guys that would be, if they're there for me, would be Mike Green and Shamar Stewart.
And and to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, Nate, with the guy from Boston College, whose name we can't pronounce, okay? But he is a very good football player, a very solid football player. As Nate just told me, he had like 17 and a half sacks last year. He had all the numbers. The knock on him was the size and what Nate told you about the fact that, sometimes he could get pushed around. And also the fact that he played at Boston College, because let's be real, Boston College, when you think of their history, they got one thing to their history, and that is the Hail Mary against Miami. That is the biggest thing they've ever done. But for me, if you're going to put those two guys against each other, Stewart versus the guy from Boston College, Stewart has a higher upside, but not really a whole lot of stats. The guy from Boston College has got all the stats, but maybe a limited upside. And so, if you're going between those two guys, I still would pick Stewart. I still think he out of Texas A&M would be my guy, despite, again, the guy who does have the stats. And I realize some people are going to be like, Elijah, you're nuts because you've always talked about people need to have stats. I know, but I also am looking at it like maybe Stewart didn't have those stats because of bad coaching, bad scheme, all the stuff we talked about last week. So, like I said, I cannot imagine a scenario that we go any other position other than defensive end, given all that we are lacking right now on that defense?
Dude, we've been lacking the same shit for years. Don't be that surprised.
No, I'm just saying though, man. Like, and I do want to toss it over to Bobby because Bobby is one of the people that said before the show, he's like, man, that defensive line, and one of Bobby's favorite things to say, and you hope he never says it to you, which is leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's fucked up.
That's like when my dad used to tell me, I ain't angry, I'm just disappointed. Like,
Man, listen.
you don't want Bobby to say that to you. Like, you leave a lot to be desired.
Man, listen. Aiden Hutchinson is literally the only defensive player that we have selected, like in the recent future, up front. You know what I mean? In the first top 10 of the draft, or even like first rounder, for real, that's like an instant impact performer.
Don't forget about Paw.
Ezekiel Elliott, you talking about? Not Ezekiel.
Ezekiel Ansah.
Yeah, but it was a gap in between that too. You know what I mean?
We got him from Hyde University Nursing Home.
Yeah, and then we picked T.J. Hawkinson instead of picking guys like Burns and Ed Oliver.
It's what we do.
And Deshaun Gary, that kind of stuff. So they haven't really ever. Brad Holmes not the first Lions general manager to keep passing up on this damn defensive playmaker, especially on the line. But to be honest, man, I don't see them doing it. I don't. And it's more of a damaged Lions fan than any witty comment I could make. It's just not going to happen.
So you don't see them going defensive end at pick 28? Is that what you're saying?
Nope. If he is a defensive end, they're going to make sure they put linebacker on there. It ain't going to be a pure rush. I swear. It ain't going to be a pure drop their hand in the dirt, go get the quarterback guy. It ain't if they do.
So, Bobby, you're not one that usually does predictions, so I think this is interesting. What do you think happens at pick 28? Because you've heard me and Nate talk. What do you think happens?
It's going to be one of them tweeners, man. It's going to be a tweener. It's not going to be just a designated guy. And what I mean by tweeners, like a Brian Branch that go back and forth, and like a Melifonwu, because I think like that piece in the secondary is missing. That interchangeable piece like him is missing. And
they're looking at the guy from Georgia, the safety from Georgia, Starks.
Right? Yes. So that energy, because before Melifonwu made it that position worth passing on. We miss a lot by him leaving. And I'm sorry, as long as it took for them to get a dominant pass rusher, and I think they more concerned of getting that secondary more together, than the defensive line, because you got Kirby, you got Brian Branch. Ain't no two safeties in the league better than them together, to me. So I think they want to. Reinsure the secondary of the defense more. I think the fact that they signing guys like Davenport, I think they, as a team, organization, however you want to call it, I think they care more about the secondary than they do the actual pass rush.
Okay, so we all agree that it's going to be a defensive pick, but we disagree on where that pick will be, whether it'll be on the front lines or the back.
It could be a guard, too. It could be an offensive guard, too.
But see, I asked you, though, what you thought would happen, and your brain automatically went.
Because your one guy, I like the Arnold kid, but he leaves a lot to be desired.
Oh, no, don't you do that.
Yes, I do. Hey, I'm going to be all the way honest with you with that.
No.
Arnold is okay. He learning, but he the reason why Dan Campbell went to the committee and to ask them not to make holding automatic first downs no more. I think he's a big part of that. That's true. Like, look, we got to change this. You feel me?
Hey,
Like,
listen,
nothing against Arnold. He ain't getting beat for no touchdown, but he
hey,
gonna grab you though.
listen, he's just his love language is physical touch. That's all. That's
Hey, I
so.
like the kid and stuff, but hey, he ain't, man. Listen, we done seen some bad corner play. That's why we ain't trying to roast him. That's,
Yeah, but
but
okay.
he only, but I think if he cut down on his penalties, you know, because even Nader know, you know what I mean. Darius Slay wasn't what he was his first year. You know what I
No,
mean?
it took him to his third year, and then he became that
Right,
guy
right, right,
trying to get
right,
that big
right,
old bag of money.
right, right. But I do think we need somebody else on that other side still.
Okay,
so if I had to bet my money, I would bet it on something in the secondary.
okay. So Bobby's saying secondary. Nate and I have been saying defensive line.
Yeah, I know it makes sense. That's why I know it ain't gonna happen.
Question is for everybody watching right now: where do you think we go? You know, because again, I just look at it and I'm like, man, if I'm Aiden Hutchinson, I I might have to go and say, Brad, we need to have a meeting.
That ain't Hutch though.
And Brad, this meeting is not going to be about my contract. This meeting is going to be about, do I have to break my leg every single season for this team before y'all get me some help?
The man still led the team in sacks, even though
I know that, but like
he's
the only one, Brad. So that's what I'm saying. Like,
I think that the way this is the downside of drafting so well.
yeah,
This is the downside. You can't keep everybody.
right.
You can't.
But the fact that we so underwhelming in free agency makes the draft where we getting our players. So you gotta really like concentrate on this more than anything.
Everything has to be a home run. But guess what? When it's hitting, the downside is that all these guys are up for a contract at the same time.
Can I add a caveat real quick though?
Yeah.
Only way I see us moving up to getting a defensive end or a pass rusher, however you want to call it, if they move up and get somebody. So say if we watching the draft and whatnot, and the Lions moved up the board, then I think we be getting that pass rusher. But standing pat and pick 28, first round, secondary. Tell me.
Well, I think because the secondary is they've done what they're gonna do with the secondary right now.
No, because listen, who on the other side?
Rakestraw be that guy.
He ain't playing.
Dog in him.
He ain't playing.
Listen.
He ain't playing.
Terrion Arnold.
All them injuries on defense, and Rakestraw never played.
Listen, Terrion Arnold is going to be our number 2 corner. He will be our best corner in the next couple of years. That's how good the kid is. I don't care about all the when I look at like the pass interference and shit like that. That's simple shit. It's not like never lost. It's not like the kid was getting blown off the line. People wasn't blowing by him. It was him knowing when to look up for the ball. And a lot of times it would be late. Right. But his technique, everything else was good. And if you've seen him later in the year, his penalties went down.
They did. I agree.
His technique, Terrion Arnold has great technique at a young age. And I'm big on tech. I need to see your feet. I need to see your hips. I need to see your jam. I need to see, are you using the sideline? Are you able to identify post routes? Is this a double route coming? Are you opening up your hips?
Who is on the other side? Our corner.
AJ Reed.
Oh yeah, that's right. But okay, well I gotta see him.
So listen, you got
okay.
Terrion Arnold, Amik Robertson. You got Rakestraw. You got Branch, and you have what's his face, Kirby.
Yeah. See, this is what happens. Nate starts, talking about all
So
that.
who the Melifonwu part? Because he was our second best.
So the thing about Melifonwu is that they found a way to get him on the field, but they took a linebacker off.
Right. A tweener, right? That's what I'm saying.
No. He wasn't even a tweener. You got to think about it. He played
like Isaiah, what's that? Isaiah Simmons position, right? Remember Isaiah Simmons that went to Arizona? Remember how he played linebacker?
You have to look at, but this is the thing. Isaiah Simmons never played safety. Isaiah Simmons was just a freak of nature at 230 pounds. Melifonwu was only 205, 210.
Yeah. But he gets to that quarterback, though.
But it's rare when you have a guy. You're primarily going, when you see guys drop back, when they become tweeners, you go from corner to safety. You get a little bit bigger. You go from safety to linebacker. And so that's where he fit between the safety and the linebacker because of his speed, his ability to cover the tight end, his length. Now, you also didn't see Melifonwu up, on the run game on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It was situational.
He was the blitzer for sure.
He played that robber position very well. He was one of the better blitzers. Regardless of how good Brian Branch was, Brian Branch is not a good blitzer when it comes to getting the quarterback. We've seen him miss the quarterback a couple of times, or he done blew right past the like, what's my man named Jared Davis when you come off that edge too goddamn fast.
Hey. Put some respect on the next Ray Lewis's name.
My God.
That's what they said about him. That's what they said when we drafted him. They said he's the next Ray Lewis.
Nobody know that. Me and Nate know.
That was one of the worst picks. One of the worst. Man, listen.
Hey, didn't Quinn say that? That was Quinn. Didn't Quinn say that?
He wasn't the only one. Look, Bob Quinn ain't never had an original idea. I promise you. But we do have to get the closing remarks here.
Oh shit!
But let me start with Nate. Nate, your closing remarks.
Closing remarks is at some point we have to get past trust the process. And it's okay to question the process. Mm-hmm. It's okay to question the process. All thing we can say is Hendon Hooker is going to be the headline going forward, and hopefully the young kid figures it out. Because again, if he don't beat out Jared Goff, I don't see him seeing the field. But again, go Lions.
Bobby, your final thoughts.
Man, the more we keep saying who the corners is, I'm getting nervous, man. Because the damn backups is the ones that end up playing. So even the backups got to be good on the winning team.
Yeah.
You feel me? Even the backups got to be good. So no, but hey, when is the draft?
It's coming up in April.
Yeah, like what day? Do you know?
Let me see. You had to ask me that.
I know. Easter on 420. Woo woo.
Okay. NFL draft's gonna be in obviously Green Bay, Wisconsin. And it will be.
Yeah, it's in Green Bay.
Let's see here. When is the NFL draft? It is coming up April 24th through April 26th. So I will actually be down. I should be anyway, down south for that. So I'll have to zoom in from a different location on that one. So, but actually, I think I'll actually be hanging out with my dad if I'm not mistaken for that one. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
That'd be dope.
That would be kind of cool because it's in Green Bay and he's a Packers fan. But anyway, yeah. So the draft 24th through the 26th, Bobby.
Okay. Oh, it's the 24th.
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully my hat be here fighting 7 to 10 business days.
But did you have any other final thoughts? Oh
no, man! Go Lions! I can't wait to talk about it some more. We got it. Hey, for for us not to have nothing to talk about, we had something to talk about.
I
I'm
mean,
proud
we
of
made
us.
it work. We made it work because we are
Yeah.
professionals. That's right. So for my final thoughts, something I saw on Hendon Hooker's Instagram today really inspired me. Hendon Hooker happened to share that he was actually.
Oh, you got mute Nate. Where I can hear you. Oh.
Nate got some craziness going on in the background. All right, so let me mute Nate. But hey, I saw on Hendon Hooker's Instagram today that he was actually at a leadership conference learning about leadership skills, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. And when I looked and saw who was talking, I was like, wait a minute, is that Jared Davis? Anyway, that's called an April Fool's joke. No, he was not at a leadership conference being
that
taught.
was fucked up, Elijah.
But if anybody could teach leadership, Jared Davis. Bring him in to teach to your team, and I'm sure he'll get you going in the right direction. But anyway,
yeah, just do the opposite of what I do.
But I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. Obviously, 18 episodes deep, we're having a good time. We should be back. I want to say next week on Tuesday. We're trying to get back to be more consistent again with the episodes as we are getting closer to the draft, and we'll try to have some more prospects for you coming up next week. But in all seriousness, y'all already know. I am a Hendon Hooker guy. I am really hoping that he is able to.
He gonna be all right, Elijah. Shit, they ain't they ain't bring nobody in he can't beat. So,
like I said, I'm rooting for him. But at the end of the day, it is up to him. It is up to him to prove guys like me right for everything that we said about him whenever the Lions draft.
This is what he should do. This is what he should do. As soon as training camp starts, just punch Jared Goff right in the chin. So come for your job.
Give him the old Geno Smith 1-2.
Yes.
Anyway,
set the tone. Set the tone.
Be like, listen, you got two options to start at quarterback, me or Kyle Allen. and then the Lions will go get Teddy Bridgewater. Anyway,
and still let him coach too. You can coach the kids too. We'll fly you in every
Saturday. Throw a Jackie Moon type situation. He's coaching and playing. Anyway, hopefully y'all caught that reference. But anyway, be good to yourself, be good to others in that order. We will see y'all soon. This is the On the Hump